Okay, now I'm in Illustrator and I want to save a file for the internet. Here's a logo that I made, and it's just flat color. It doesn't have any gradations or anything like that, so a GIF would be a really good format for it. I'm going to go to File, Export, and I got a couple of options here. There's Export for Screens, which is the newest window that Illustrator has for this. It's got the scale of 2 times, and you can change the format here to PNG, SVG, PDF. There's not a GIF option. Or I can go to File, Export, Save for Web, which is an older window. And here I can make it a GIF file, which is really what works best for this. So I'll make it a GIF file. I have the width here, which is extremely large. I can change that to 500 pixels maybe. And alright, there we go. And I can ask for transparency if I want. Because in Illustrator, at least on this document, the artboard will look white even if you don't have anything back there. So there isn't really anything back there, so I can choose the transparency if I want. And I can click Save. And look at it, it's only 6.129 kilobytes. That's extremely tiny. Alright, so I'll save that. And I'll just go ahead and put it in my web graphics folder there. Okay. Another option, I could do File, Export. I'll do this Export for Screens, and I can make it a PNG file here. And let's see. Yeah, I have to choose the artboard, and then it's going to export the entire artboard, which means that the boundaries of it will be the boundaries of the artwork. So it's that whole thing that's going to be exported. I can do the 2 times, and it's making it a JPEG. The JPEG 100 is the highest quality. So I can do Export Artboard and put it in there. Okay, but notice that this whole thing, if I open it up, it's including the background. Okay, so you may say, well, I don't want the background. I just want the logo. All right. Well, then you can do something else. You can select everything on here and make sure you select it all. I'm going to delete and make sure. Yeah, I did get it all. So Command Z. Here's back. I can make this into an asset. I have to ask for something called an asset export window, and all I got to do now that I've selected all this, I can just drag this onto here, and there's that asset. Now they are they're separate. They're 2 different assets, so I need to option drag to make a single asset. So okay, I will undo what I just did. So I'll do option drag, and that's going to combine these into one asset. And what's the difference? Well, this way, I've got that as an asset. So now, when I do File, Export for Screens, instead of Artboard, I'll go to Assets and save this as an asset, a PNG file. And then this time, it's only the logo. This background here is transparent, and it's only as big as the logo itself, so I don't have that background artboard. Okay, so in Illustrator, that's very important. You're going to want to save your graphic into the Asset Export window, and then do Export for Screens, and instead of artboards, you'll choose assets, and it will only get what you want. So there's the PNG. If I want to, I can choose JPEG, make it a JPEG file. PDFs are for other purposes, even though you can read some of them on the internet. Now this format here called SVG it's the newest format, and it's very interesting. It stands for Scalable Vector Graphic, and what that means is it turns it into an exportable vector graphic that it can be viewed on the internet at perfect resolution. I mean, your viewer can zoom in on their web page, and so as long as as far as their web page they can zoom in on, this will be sharp and clear, just like it is in Illustrator itself. And that's not very big. It's not a very big file either. So I haven't used SVG a lot. I plan to use it more when I just need a clear, sharp vector, and I don't need to worry about gradients or shadows or anything. Okay, so anyway, you can save these things in all these different formats. Let's see. So I've got GIF files, we've got JPEG files, we've got PNG, and let's see. I'm not sure where that SVG file went to. Let me try it again and just. Alright, export for screens, asset. Okay. Oh, I did it in the Creative Cloud files. Okay, so you choose where to save it right here. So I need to tell it where to go. So I need to go to the desktop, web graphics, choose, and now I'll export it. And then I can see that it's only 5K, which is very tiny. Okay, so it's a great way to save a high quality image. Alright, so you can see how it's a little different in Illustrator than it is in Photoshop. As far as when to use which program to export your files, what was it created in? If it was created in Photoshop, that would be the best thing. If it's a vector file that you created in Illustrator, that would be the best thing. Now, sometimes you will have things like drop shadows and so forth in Illustrator even. For instance, I'm going to put a drop shadow now. I'm going to go to Effect. Let's see. I need Stylized Drop Shadow. Okay, so I'm going to ask for a drop shadow. And I'll just go with the defaults here for now. And it's not showing up. Let me try this again. Stylized drop shadow. There we go. And I had to have it select. I didn't have it selected. Okay. So there's my drop shadow. Okay, I might make the blur a little bigger just so I can see it. Well, see it a little better. Okay. So this now has a drop shadow. Times like this, you might want it to be a JPEG, but you can, when you have, this is called a raster effect. Even though you're in Illustrator and that logo is a vector, this is a raster effect. So you have to control the quality of that raster effect. So here, you have to go to Effect at the top of your screen, go to Document Raster Effect Settings, and this shows the resolution of things like your drop shadows. So if you want a high resolution, you have to choose it, like 300. That's probably enough. But if I wanted to, I could do other and type in something, insane if I wanted to. So if you want to make sure that it's a really high quality effect, you have to ask for that. You have to go to Effect, Document Raster Effect Settings, and bump that up from 72 to whatever you want it to be. Okay, so when you do that, and then you can export for screens, and then I'm going to save it as a JPEG 100. 100 is the best quality here. Okay, and then I'll export the asset. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'll export the asset. And there, that's 232 kilobytes. So it's a lot bigger because the SVG is only 5 kilobytes, so it's a lot smaller. This GIF file is only 6, but again, there's no drop shadow. Okay, and since it's a JPG, a JPEG, it's also including this background. So let's see how big the file is when we make it a PNG file. Let's go File, Export, Export for Screens, and we'll do PNG, and we'll export it. Okay, so the PNG is only 101, so that's pretty good, and it's also got transparency to it, I think. Let me make sure. File, Export, Export for Screens. Okay, I'll find out I'm going to find out if that's transparent by seeing if it'll drop onto a Photoshop web page. So here we go, Asset 3, PNG file. Drop it onto Photoshop, and yes, it is. It's transparent and it's a lot smaller. Okay, so you can see that the PNG format is pretty darn good. And if you want any transparency to your image and you want it to be high quality, choose the PNG. It's also lossless, which means there's no information lost. JPEGs are really good for anything rectangular that's photographic, but other than that, check out your other options. There might be a better one.